and children of all ages. It's just with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things nerdy through a common sense lens. And man, you know we love ourselves some rumor mill around here, right? We love talking about it. We love going over it. It's fun fan speculation, right? It's what nerds do. We get together. We have fan theories. It's what the whole idea of like the Superman versus Goku fight and all the others, the kind of nonsense of who can Batman beat with enough prep time. It's nerd arguments. It's nerd fans, right? It's theories. It's speculation. It's what we like, right? So I love this kind of stuff. And it's even more fun when you've got speculation and rumor mills coming from conflicting sources, especially when those conflicting sources have pretty good, reliable track records out there. And as we all are very well aware, Marvel Cinematic Universe has been in kind of a rough state over the last few years. Essentially, since post-Endgame, things haven't been going too very well at all. Most of the movies have lost money at the box office. Their television shows have floundered completely and totally flat and are doing nothing but losing viewers. And of course, this year did not have a single Marvel Cinematic Universe movie even come close to sniffing a profit. So we are all very well aware of the fact that the Marvel Cinematic Universe's future hinges on these new Avengers movies. They brought everything out for this. The Russo brothers are back. They paid a whole buttload of money to get Robert Downey Jr. back. They are basically throwing everything and including the kitchen sink at this two pair of movies, trying to reignite the fire that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has lost. And obviously, any of us out there with a little common sense knows why they've been doing this, right? They've been trying to chase this modern audience, much like Marvel Comics did years ago, trying to get all of these new characters out there, all of this diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense out there. And just like it failed miserably in the comics, it has failed miserably in the Marvel Cinematic Universe out there. And honestly, it's damaged the brand overall. That's why Fantastic Four, the trade magazines couldn't come up with any of their typical excuses as to why that movie flopped, right? It's set a story all by itself. It's introducing completely and totally new characters with an actor Hollywood claims everyone loves, Pedro Pascal, and yet somehow it still got defeated by Superman at the box office, boys and girls, and it wasn't even close. And that is just shows you how far the Marvel Cinematic Universe has fallen. Well, as we all know, like I said, everything hinges on the Avengers movies. And there are some rumors going around out there, something that went viral on the internet not too long ago, essentially saying out there that there was going to be multiple Dr. Dooms. Now, we've heard this in the past from a very reliable source, i.e. WW Pro over at That Park Place, but we know that was well over a year ago. We know from Kevin Feige himself that new writers have been brought in to work on the Avengers movies as they're currently being filmed, and so a lot of things have changed out there in the past. But one of the latest rumors that went around viral came from one of those guys with generally a reliable track record that a lot of people pay attention to, saying that we were getting multiple variations of Doom, but not only that, but that we were going to get a bunch of female crossover, gender-bent Dooms as well. And boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, that would line up beautifully with all of the MCU nonsense we've been getting over the last few years. I mean, did you see the Loki series out there after all, which literally just became all about his female variant? So of course those rumors line up exactly with what we've been getting for so very long out there. But our dear sweet Gary Buechler out there, Nerdrotic, is none one of those reliable sources and generally doesn't put things out there unless he knows beyond a shadow of a doubt. And Gary has been actively talking to people inside of Disney Marvel that are close to this movie and letting us know a lot of things about it. He already knows a whole lot about the rough cut of the trailer and has been leaking what he can out to all of us out there in general. So boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go over all of these juicy rumors, give you the conflicting reports, and then give you this humble common nerd's opinion as to which case is the most likely scenario. Are we going to get multiple MCU Dooms out there giving us all of the kind of wonderfulness that we've been getting over the last few years that has failed miserably at the box office? Or is it going to end up being a complete and total lie, going to be something that's complete and total nonsense out there? Well, we'll get into all of the juicy details of that and let you know what I think. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2,300. We're inching our way closer and closer to 24. I think we're sitting at like 2,391 on our journey to 100,000, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Which one of these do you believe is true? Do you think Avengers Doomsday is going to carry on with the MCU track record that Kevin Feige has been known for since Avengers Endgame? Or do you think it's more than likely that they've actually wised wised up to a lot of this kind of stuff, and if this idea was something that they were going to go forward with, it has now been completely and totally killed and will end up on nothing more than the cutting room floor if it even made it that far. Let us know what you think about it in the comments section down below, because unlike at the MCU, all opinions are actually welcome down below. And of course, if you'd like to support the channel, please check the links in the description as well. Memberships do go a really long way. This is my full-time job by the grace of God and all of your generous support out there, boys and girls. All right, from Alex Gurzo over at geeksandgamers.com. Nerdrotic debunks Daniel RPK's Doctor Doom rumors. What's going on in Avengers Doomsday? Well, that is the question now, isn't it, boys and girls? And a lot of fans are wondering. A new Marvel rumor from the often referenced Scooper was just debunked by Gary from Nerdrotic, who says there is only one Doctor Doom on the way. But once again, this is still just rumor mill, boys and girls, and we haven't seen anything, although we've heard that the trailer for this movie is supposed to launch before the latest Avatar 3 movie with Fires and Ash, or whatever that one is going to be, the next billion-dollar James Cameron movie out there. So we'll at least have an idea of when that movie launches in December, how much of all of this is true or not, or if it's just fan speculation, or if it's just people blowstream trying to bolster their own egos. So we don't have that much longer before we'll find out. And of course, if you remember, come back and comment on this video down below which side ended up being true. I'd love to hear from you guys back then, or when all that comes out. I'm sure we'll probably do another video on it too. Daniel RPK recently reported a rumor that was shared by Screen Time, one of the X accounts of the entertainment website Dextero, about the new Avengers movie, Avengers Doomsday, which I didn't know Screen Time was from Dextero, but it doesn't surprise me, which arrives in theaters December 18th, 2026. You know, the movie that was already delayed 6 months because initially it was supposed to release in May of next year. Boy, I wonder why. It couldn't, because of all of the changes behind the scenes stuff that we've heard about. Now, could it, boys and girls? No, I'm sure none of that's true. According to the Scooper, Doomsday will feature multiple Dooms, including female Dooms. Now, on the face of this, it wouldn't really surprise a lot of fans, especially if you've been watching what's been going on inside of the MCU over the last few years, right? Once again, we've already seen female variants of known characters. Loki. We know, right, that we're going to be dealing with a bunch of different variants with Avengers Doomsday, with Secret Wars, with all this kind of stuff. So it wouldn't really surprise anybody. Now, all of the fans out there that are sick and tired of all of the MCU garbage, we would all roll our eyes. And if it ends up being the case, a lot of fans are just going to assume that, guess what, Robert Downey Jr. is going to end up getting replaced by one of his female variants, and she's going to end up being top dog, just like what we saw happen in the Loki series. So why would we bother even going and seeing it? Right? That automatically right there is going to be shooting themselves in the foot just from a marketing perspective. Now, we know behind the scenes, they've been trying to change a lot of that. We know there's been a lot of edits. We know that Fantastic Four went through a bunch of different edits and some reshoots to try to change the story out there and not make it as girl bossy as what we initially had heard. And so stuff like that. So we know a lot of that does go on behind the scenes. So once again, Daniel RPK is not specifically telling us when he heard this rumor. He's just releasing it right now. This isn't a reference to the film's central villain, Doctor Doom, who will be played by former Iron Man Robert Downey Jr. Obviously, we know all of that. But hey, you got to hit that word count. Don't blame anybody. This would be a surprise, as so far, Downey's the only reported Doctor Doom in the film. However, it would fit the storyline, as with after Avengers Endgame and concluded as what was called the Infinity Saga, the MCU entered the multiverse saga, which has been in a wash and a multiverse variant of different characters. Tom Hiddleston's Loki, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange, and of course, and since Marvel has been leaning heavily into identity politics in the multiverse saga, and Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige has stated that possibly over half of the MCU's heroes would be women, it's believable that we would see some Lady Doom variants. Like I said, this makes sense for anybody that's been paying attention. This is what Kevin Feige told us was going to happen. Now, that was all the way back in like 2018, 2019 time frame, and clearly we've seen the results of that costing the company billions of dollars, where Bob Iger had to come out and admit to investors that they won't be producing as much Marvel TV shows. They're literally limited to like 1 or 2 a year now, compared to what, the 3, 4, 5, 6 sometimes we were getting at the height of things. Yeah, how'd that MCU work out? It's almost like go woke, go broke is true, huh? Weird, right? But Gary of Nerdrotic disagrees. Good old Gary Buechler, saying the shill this was not the case, responding to Scream Time's post saying 100% false. Now, mind you, there's a very good possibility Gary has actually seen the rough cut of the trailer so far, right? We know he's in direct contact with people inside of Disney Marvel. Why do we know that? Because of so many times his rumors have proven to be true. And these recent ones, Gary tells us he's been completely and totally honest about everything beforehand, right? This is how we knew Rings of Power was going to end up being a disastrous dumpster fire before it came out. Why? Because Gary told us so. He'd already heard about this months before it all happened. And yeah, I remember watching the streams of him going, I wish I could tell you guys everything I know because nobody get excited for Rings of Power. Like, it was like he knew what was coming. And guess what? As soon as that first trailer hit, he went, yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. That's what yeah. And so it's like, this is how we know. This is how we know. And he's already talked about this. We have no reason to believe Gary's going to lie to us about anything. Do things change behind the scenes? Absolutely. Which is why this post might have been true at one point. But Gary says, once again, not true at all. So that would seem to put the kibosh in the idea. Obviously, no one can present any proof of either of these possibilities because nobody wants to hurt their sources. But Gary was completely right when he said that Mark Ruffalo and Jon Bernthal would be in Spider-Man Brand New Day. So is Matt McGloin over at Cosmic Book News, which is why we use him all the time and go back to his articles overall as well. In fact, he was reporting that months before the news broke about Bernthal in June, which preceded the confirmation of Ruffalo's involvement. Clearly, he has some decent sources in Marvel. What's interesting is that way back in 2024, WW Pro had an exclusive report saying that there was more to Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom than meets the eye. In his live stream, we talked about this. This is what I kind of previewed at the early onset of business, right? Pro said there was going to be multiple variants of Doctor Doom out there, but the real Doctor Doom would be the Robert Downey Jr. version out there. That would be the actual main protagonist. But at the end of the day, we know, right, a lot of things have changed. Kevin Feige told us they brought in new script writers to continue working on and making changes to Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars while they're shooting. Simu Liu flat out said not too long ago he's not entirely sure how the movie's going to end up actually turning out because they're still working on so much more out there as well. So it's a lot of stuff. And like they say right here, does this mean anyone's lying? Absolutely not. Avengers Doomsday has gone through so many revisions and may still be undergoing them. It is. We'll see how everyone could have heard all about different versions of the script from different people who had seen different things at different points in Doomsday's development. In terms of the story, both positions seem plausible. Doomsday and its follow-up, Avengers Secret Wars, are about the multiverse, so having multiple Dooms makes sense. However, the plot supposedly concerning Doom tries to stop a series of universe-threatening incursions. As such, it would be thematically sound to make Doctor Doom the one guy with no variants, at least in the movie. On the other hand, if Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doom, it's almost certain that he's a Tony Stark variant from some other dimension, possibly the one from the Fantastic Four First Steps. Nerdrotic could be correct about Doctor Doom, but so could WW Pro or Daniel RPK. We'll only know what's going on when we see Avengers Doomsday, which obviously we know is over a year away at this point. But at the end of the day, we'll probably know a lot when the trailer premieres this December. But I think it comes down to, at least in this humble common nerd's opinion, I think everybody's right. But like the kind of conclusion of the article comes to, right at different points in time. I have no doubt that we might see multiple Dooms out there. Now, the female Dooms out there, I think might be what more Gary was putting down to begin with at all. But we know that beyond a shadow of a doubt, this thing has gone through massive amounts of revisions. I could also see why they would only want one Doctor Doom. So was Pro right a year ago? Probably. Do we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that a lot of things have changed? Yes. Kevin Feige confirmed that. So who's right? Honestly, every one of them was right at one point. I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that they wanted female variants of Doctor Doom because Kevin Feige said that. He's the one that said he wanted over half the Marvel heroes to be female. We all know that that hasn't worked out. We know that there has been massive amounts of layoffs from Marvel, specifically on the activist side of things, to erase this cancer and try to purge it out of there. But at the end of the day, the cancer starts at the top, and that's Kevin Feige. And Kevin Feige wanted this. He was all down for it. He was totally okay with this. And it blew up in his face. And now he's trying to scramble, because at the end of the day, the one thing that matters to Kevin Feige more than anything else is his ego and his pride. Yeah, is he going to virtue signal for the cult all day long? Sure. But when it starts to affect his bottom line, when it starts to affect his reputation and his legacy, oh, no, boys and girls. Nothing matters more to Kevin Feige than Kevin Feige and his legacy. And so that's what it's just like Bob Iger. He's literally just a chip off the old block of Bobby Boy, because Bobby's the same way. And that's why they're making these changes. Despite the decades of virtue signaling about being on the side of diversity, inclusion, and equity and everything else, right? We knew that they'd shrink black people for China's box offices. We knew that they'd erase gay stuff for the Middle Eastern box offices. We knew it was never nothing more than a virtue signal for those of us paying attention and not of us snorting everything out of Disney's butt. All those pixie dusters out there. So who's right? Gary. There's only going to be one. Why? Because the Marvel Cinematic Universe is in a state of absolute destruction, devastation. It's a giant dumpster fire. And we've been documenting it for quite a while, over 4 years at this point, between this and the old stuff. And boys and girls, this is the change that we were said was going to have to be made a long time ago, because one of two things was going to happen. Either Marvel was going to go bankrupt, or they were going to change their ways. And Bob Iger and Kevin Feige decided they didn't want to go bankrupt. Sacrificing their careers and their legacies on the altar to this cult was one step too far. Were they willing to sacrifice billions of dollars and plenty of fans and believe all the lies about a modern audience replacing all of us sexists and homophobes and bigots? Sure. But when dollars and donuts show up, when 2 plus 2 turns out to still equal 4 and God is still on his throne in heaven, hey, guess what? When the chips are down, they abandon all of that and will change everything for it. So yes, boys and girls, Dr. Doom will be the one and only Robert Downey Jr. And at the end of the day, there won't be any female variants. There's going to be not anywhere near as many of these female characters in the MCU going forward. And Dr. Doom's Devastators and Doomsday and Secret Wars will be the excuse Kevin Feige has for them. Just like Marvel reset their universe several times in the past, Kevin Feige is going to do the exact same thing. And guess what? The MCU is first thing on the chopping block. But at the end of the day, we'll have to find out. Is it too little too late? Because Marvel has burned their fans beyond belief. And at this point, any ire, any massive failures, even by bringing back Robert Downey Jr. and the Russo brothers, will be exactly what Kevin Feige deserves. Because after all, they've done it to themselves. And boys and girls, Avengers Doomsday, one way or another, will decide the fate of the future of the MCU. The real question is Kevin Feige going to make the fans happy, or is it too little too late? We will find out next year, boys and girls. A big shout out to all of our subscribers and members out there. Thanks for watching, and make sure you guys like and subscribe if you have not already.